the Warriors season would end tonight. Actually, at the time that you're watching this video, it might be already over or not. It depends on the results of the game tonight against the Timberwolves. The Warriors are on the brinks, 3-1 Timberwolves. We are playing Minneapolis. It's going to be a really difficult game, and especially because the Warriors have not shown how to react, how to respond, how to stop Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards, and especially we have not shown any offensive, like a strong offensive power without Stephen Curry. We're going to talk today about the winners and losers of the Warriors season. And it's based on my opinion. It's obviously a lot biased by the recent results because those are the ones that I believe sticks more with the memory and that are closer to the next season. So that's what you're going to base. And I believe the Warriors organization will base to make a decision for the roster. Because as I said in the video yesterday, I do expect a lot of change. If the Warriors are eliminated tonight, I do expect a lot of change in this roster to look for people and players which will allow Stephen Curry and whoever stays in the roster next season to run for a title contender. The West is just getting stronger and stronger every year, and the Warriors need to find a new path. So let's look and who are first the top 3 losers, because I think there are more, but I'm going to highlight the top 3 for you. And I'll quickly mention another 2 that are not here, but I do think that they also go in a downside at the end of this season. So the first one for me, which I think there was a lot of expectations. Actually, let's do this. Before we jump to the losers, let's look at the salary cap. And the reason that is important to look at that is because obviously every expectation that you set around a player, it's also based on how much money he is occupying of your salary cap space and how much money they are making, right? So let's just look here. You see Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler are a large amount of the salary cap space. And then you have Draymond Green. Draymond Green doing 24 million. Stick with this number because it's important. Buddy Hield, Gary Payton, Kevin Looney, the last 2 in their last year of contract, I don't expect them to be back next season. And then you have Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, which signed a contract this year. Kuminga that we know it's going to be a restricted free agent. And then Brandon Porzingis, Tracy Jackson, the 2 second-year players we have. And then you have Guy Santos, Quinton Post, and those players that we expect a lot less, right? So keep that in mind. And for me, the first loser of this season, it's Brandon Porzingis. I think for a guy that has had a lot of up and downs, where the Warriors set a lot of expectations in the beginning of the season, remember, we let Chris Paul go, and we were initially relying on Brandon Porzingis to be the substitute guard for Stephen Curry. And what Steve Kerr and every single Warriors fan realize is that he's not capable of doing that. When you put pressure basically on Brandon Porzingis, so far he has break. He has not performed. He had some ups. He had some those 25-point games and some defensive, like really good defensive plays, and some games with a good amount of rebound. He's just a second year. But in my opinion, he's a loser of the season because he was part of the rookie team last year. He came with a lot of expectations. The Warriors gave him a lot of minutes, a lot of opportunities, and especially in this playoff when we needed him the most, he has not shown anything. Right now, with Stephen Curry down against the Minnesota Timberwolves, we needed Brandon Porzingis to constantly be reaching those 20 points per game, and he is really in a shooting slump. So, especially maybe if the Warriors win tonight and they can keep going forward, things turn around. But if the season ends tonight against Minnesota, Brandon Porzingis for me is one of that goes towards next season with a much lower value in terms of money and tradable and everything than last year, because I think he showed improvement, but not as we expected. And when we needed the most, he showed he's not capable, not ready yet for that. So that's my number 1. And then comes to my number 2, which I think is a big disappointment and it's going to be debatable. I believe not all of you will agree. And by the way, leave your comments if you agree with each one of those or not. Don't forget to subscribe. But my second one is Draymond Green. And I know that Draymond Green had the debate about being the defensive player of the year. I get it, and I give that as well. I still argue also, I would put on top of that on his defense that the Warriors ask a lot of him on the defensive side, right? Because we don't have a strong center. He often has to play that center position, which is not his main strength. So we are asking him for things that it is not his main skill. But on the downside, I think we still have a lot of those problems with Draymond Green. The ejections, the flagrant fouls, the discussions with the refs. As Bob Myers said, and I brought it to you here in the last video yesterday, he is one that is capable of driving the team to a good path or bad path. And for years, it has made sense for the Warriors to keep that and to, as Steve Kerr said, I know that's Draymond Green, and we deal with that. I know that is what is come with the Draymond Green price of having him in the roster. But remember that I said stick with that 24 million number, and next year that jumps to above 25. My point would I think Draymond Green is a loser because when he came to the playoff without Stephen Curry, in this series against Minnesota, he could not lead the team. And he is being basically broken by Julius Randle, that is having triple doubles and massive games on top of Draymond Green. He is not being able to provide that scoring power, which hasn't been his strong skill for years, but we need it. And he even said that. He said, I know that when it comes to the playoffs, I'm going to need to score, but he's not doing that. So my point is, despite still thinking that Draymond Green is one of the leaders of this team, one of the best defensive players that we have, for a 25 million per year player, I think we need more, especially more on the offensive side. We need someone more reliable because that's what the other teams have. Look at the Denver Nuggets, OKC, look at the Lakers now, even that they are out, the Timberwolves, they all have multiple defensive players that cost around what Draymond Green costs or less. And that's a problem right now for the Warriors. And more than that, I think Draymond Green is a loser because with the opportunities that are being already presented for the summer for potential trades like Giannis that we mentioned in the video yesterday, Draymond Green, because of his salary, becomes one of the main potential trade assets that the Warriors have. So I would not be surprised if the Warriors get ready and part ways with Draymond Green, even with everything that he has done for the organization. So that's my loser number 2 of the season. And then last, I would say less important, but also we had a lot of hopes, Tracy Jackson Davis. He came from a very strong end of the last season. He was the center. He took the spot from Kevin Looney as the starting center, and then he completely lost it. And I would say that he lost it a lot because of his own skill set. Like we had a Tracy Jackson, if you remember well over the season, missing layups. He was a problem in the offensive side. He was missing a lot of free throws. He was very unreliable on that offensive side with ups and downs, and I would say more downs than up. And he was being targeted. Even like people were falling Tracy Jackson because he was not a threat at all on the free throw line. And you remember he was a big piece of that the Warriors being the worst free throw team in the league. So I think Tracy Jackson is one that also he lost. He saw Brandon Porzingis renegotiating his contract, signing a new contract. He didn't have that. He saw his minutes being lost for Quinton Post, the rookie, and is still being split with Kevin Looney. So he took some minutes right now that Stephen Curry came down against the Minnesota, but also because Steve Kerr is trying to find a rotation that works and is not finding it. So I would not be surprised if with 3 centers in the roster that are in, and now none of them are super reliable, Trace Jackson becomes the one that gets traded for next season. So he's my loser number 3 of the performance of this season. And then I want to add, before we move to the winners, I want to add 2 here, which I'm not going to get in details, but Steve Kerr and Moses Moody. Those 2 for me, they are also big losers of the season. Steve Kerr, basically a lot of Warriors fans and every time more start questioning his decisions, his capacity to find things in certain situations. I don't think exactly that we need to do anything with Kerr, but I also disagree with some of the decisions, including one that we're gonna speak later in the winners, and Moses Moody, which performed well a long piece of the regular season, but I believe that goes down because especially in the playoff when we needed the most and he had the biggest opportunity, he didn't shine, and we are not seeing he's in that massive shooting slump throughout the playoff series, including resulting in losing his starting position, right? So I think he's another loser. Let's go right now to the winners of this season. And I'm going to start with the guy that changed our season, Jim Butler. A lot of you might disagree with me, say, right now that we need a Jim Butler against the Timberwolves because Stephen Curry went down, he's not performing. I get it, right? And I get that, but I didn't set the expectations. So again, I think when we traded for Jim Butler, you remember I said here in the channel, I'm concerned. It's a very expensive guy, which had problems in Miami, and I don't know how he's going to pair with Stephen Curry. I was wrong. He paired really well. The Warriors had that starting 18-2. We basically made to the playoffs, and we had the play-in, but we a lot because of what we had before Jim Butler, right? If you look to the results only after February 6th, the trade deadline, when we announced that, the Warriors are one of the top 2, top 3 in the league in the West Conference. So Jim Butler, for me, he goes out proving, even if the Warriors decide to trade him, like we mentioned about this in the potential trade with Giannis, that Jim Butler could be a name. Even if the Warriors decide to trade, he has proven his value, that he's worth of the Warriors are paying, and he's capable of jumping the Warriors to a next level. He is making clear, and he's also injured. We're gonna remind that, like, he's not the same level that Stephen Curry of injured, but he's also not at his past 100%. But he's not gonna be the face of a franchise right now anymore. But he can make a franchise like the Warriors or any other jump from a mid-level to average level to a contender, right? So I think he goes to the end of the season proving to Miami and to the NBA world that he is still one of the best in the leagues. And he has changed the Warriors in so many ways, right? Best jumping to the best second defense. He has proven his ability on that side as well. Going to the free throw line, changing the pace of the game, and taking the minutes when Stephen Curry is on the bench. So big winner for me is Jim Butler. And then my second winner, and this one for me, it's the one that gets to the end of the season the most, is Jonathan Kuminga, right? How many times all of us Warriors fans have asked to see Kuminga? Kuminga didn't play in the Rockets series, and we made it in 7 games, but we could have lose, and he didn't play. Then he's coming back because Stephen Curry got injured, and I said that in a video as well. Look in the channel that the only way that Kuminga would find his spot back was if someone gets injured, and he needs to fulfill that. And he's shining bright. And for him, that is massive because it's towards the end of the season, playoffs, which is the most important, and he's proving to be able to put like a 30 points performance attack, and he's still only 22. And then more than that, why he's a big winner? He is a restricted free agent, meaning that someone can come and make an offer for him, and then the Warriors have to decide to cover that or not to stay with him. So now he's increased his value a lot. If he had gone down, not playing the playoffs, I do think he would be a loser of this because of his things. I think he could never really get along with Steve Kerr on how to make him play. And we always heard some, what I will say, name here, excuse that he could not pair with Draymond Green. He could not pair with Jim Butler, but he just went there and proved that that's not true. That they paired for a 63 point, both of Butler and Kuminga combined in the game 1 against Minnesota, right? So, or game 2, sorry, against Minnesota. So for me, one of the big winners is going to get to the summer with a high value. Don't know if it's going to stay with the Warriors. Hopefully we find a way. I think he has a lot of room to grow. but he was in a down until games ago, and then he finished strong this season. And then the last one, which not surprise to anyone, and I was actually between putting him as a loser, and I'm gonna explain to you why, and a winner. It's Stephen Curry, right? Why it's Stephen Curry for me is one of the winners of the season for the Warriors. You could consider him a loser because he just wasted supposedly one more game, one more season of his career. There's debates already if he's gonna be able to win another ring, and that he finished the season if we lose tonight injured, not being able to play a playoff game, and a playoff game that everyone believes, and that's why it start changing to the winner of the season. I don't think anyone believes that if Stephen Curry was healthy and playing, we would be in this situation against Minnesota. I do think that we're real contenders in the West, at least with Stephen Curry and Butler all both healthy. Why I think Stephen Curry is a winner? First, he finally found another star to pair with him. He is seeing that the Warriors to believe on him, and the whole NBA world knows he's one of the best in the leagues. Despite having a little bit lower numbers in average, he's still the biggest threat. Every time he is on the court, the other team needs to design everything to defend him. So I think he goes, if we go down, Stephen Curry goes down this season like with showing everyone that he's still Stephen Curry. And more than that, when you look to the OGs, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, the guys that have been in this league for a while, Stephen Curry is proving to be the one that is still lasting longer. Like, he's a bit younger than the guys, but he's still like performing, and because of the way that he plays for a 36-year to 37-year-old guy, he's still in a really high level, right? And he's still an example to everyone. I think his value, he's increasing his salary for the coming seasons. He just renewed he extended his contract with the Warriors, but he has shown everywhere that is still, and I don't have no doubts that the Warriors organization still believe that they need to build the next at least couple of years around Stephen Curry. So for me, he's the other big winner of this season. And then obviously we do have other players like that had ups and downs, like Buddy Hield, like I'm not gonna talk about the guys that left, but the ones that are here, Kevin Looney, GP2, Buddy Hield, those guys, I think they had ups and downs. They're at that mid-level. They have goods and bads. It really will depend on who becomes available for a trade and what the Warriors are trying to build around. So, but I would say that the way that the season is it's walking to an end for us, everyone is on the table for being traded, but Stephen Curry, and the Warriors probably will build around him, at least a couple of more years. Let me know your thoughts. Who are the big winners and losers of the Golden State Warriors 2024-25 season? Don't forget to subscribe. Have a great game tonight, and bye.